Hi, I'm David Wicks, Chair of the Digital Education Master's Program at Seattle Pacific University. Are you interested in flipped learning? In this screencast, we'll walk through 4 questions you should ask yourself before deciding if this strategy will work for you and your students. These questions were developed from the 2014 Yarbro report for the Flipped Learning Network. Here are the 4 questions that will help us investigate flipped learning. These questions are directly related to our goals for this video lesson. Our goals are, first, define flipped learning. Second, we want to learn what the research says about flipped learning. Third, we want to understand what is required to flip our learning. And finally, we want to be aware of any possible issues that we may face if we decide to adopt this strategy. What is flipped learning? Let's look at a definition. It's a pedagogical approach where direct instruction is done in an individual space using videos and other online content. The group space is used for guided practice and creative application of subject matter concepts. According to Engelman, direct instruction is not just lecturing. It includes setting clear, understandable goals, sequenced, well-organized assignments, clear expectations and illustrations, frequent use of questions to assess understanding, and provides opportunities for students to practice what they learn. What does the research say about flipped learning? Well, in one study, students in a flipped section scored significantly higher on a standardized exam than their peers. In another study, students in the flipped prep course passed the general ed course at a higher rate than those taking the traditional prep course. And students in a flipped health sciences course scored slightly higher than their peers in a traditional course, but were less satisfied, possibly because they perceived a higher workload. When online and face-to-face are blended, instructors need to be careful that they don't make a course into a course and a half by assigning additional online work without compensating for what they're doing face-to-face. These findings are all from higher education. The researchers did not find results from humanities courses. The report does include findings from K-12 as well as professional working environments, which you can view yourself at the Flipped Learning Network website. How can we know if what we're doing is actually flipping? Well, the Flipped Learning Network has helped us out by providing pillars of flipped learning, which include flipped learning environment, that's the F. The L is learning culture shift. The I is intentional content, and the P is professional educators. Well, that's not quite enough, so they've added some indicators for us, and I've turned those indicators into some questions. So for flipped learning environment, ask yourself these questions. Do you establish space and time that permits students to interact and reflect on their learning as needed? In class, do you observe and monitor students and make adjustments as appropriate? And finally, do you provide students with different ways to learn content and demonstrate mastery? For the learning culture shift, do you give students opportunities to engage in meaningful activities without you being the center? Do you scaffold learner-centered activities and make them accessible to all students through differentiation and feedback? For intentional content, have you reinvented your direct instruction for learners to access and replay on their own? Have you created and curated relevant content, typically videos, for your students to access? And finally, have you differentiated your instruction to make content accessible and relevant to all students? In terms of the professional education portion, do you make yourself available to students for individual, small group, and class feedback in the classroom? Do you conduct ongoing formative assessment during class time through observation and data recording to make both on-the-spot decisions and future instructional decisions? And finally, do you collaborate and reflect with other educators, continually making efforts to transform your instruction? If you're doing all these things, then you are flipping your learning. And I'd say if you're making progress towards these things, you're also flipping your learning. What are possible concerns that we could have before we take on this strategy? Well, assuming that your flipped learning will include videos, do your students have high-speed internet access at home? If you're a K-12 instructor, you may need to provide time for students to access flipped content while they're on campus. Do you understand how to create content and share it online? Do you understand the pedagogy involved with flipped learning? How do you incorporate active learning into group time and reflection into individual time? One professor reported that flipped learning required 25% more time than preparation for a traditional class. Can you design your flipped instruction so that your content can be reused? Do you have any comments or questions? Here is my contact information. I would love to visit with you about your flipped learning ideas. Have a great day.